Well, it's a good thing I didn't go to Sturgis, because riding home from the gym today, my 2023 Harley Davidson Road Glide M8 114 started giving me a hell of a knock in the front, and I noticed a little bit of power loss. It felt like exhaust. It felt like if the exhaust had come off one of the heads, but I don't think that's what it is. So in this particular engine, I did change the cam. I changed the roller rock. I converted it over to roller rockers. I did adjustable push rods, new roller tappets, the tappet cuffs, the aluminum S&S tappet cuffs. And I guess I'm gonna fire it up right now so you can hear what that sounds like, ticking the way it is. And then I'll start getting into what I'm gonna do to get after it and get it repaired. So here we go. So as you can hear, something's really ticking in there. It almost sounds like a tappet, but it sounds up high. So I'm thinking maybe rocker arm. But the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the intake off, and I'm gonna take the gas tank and the seat off just to get it out of my way. I'll pull all 4 spark plugs, and then I'll take these push rod covers off, and I'll roll the engine over with no compression in it and see if I can isolate that sound. As I spin it over, I'll jack it up, spin it with the back tire, and I should be able to go back and forth along that stroke and see where I'm getting that sound from, see if I can replicate it. And I'm guessing it's gonna be up in these rocker boxes, but we'll see. So here we go. So on the M8, the fuel connection is right here. Basically, to get this undone, it's just a quick disconnect. It's like that. Hardly no spill. Now the tank's ready to come off. So there is a vent tube here to vent the fuel tank, and one electrical connection here. So now the gas tank's off. I'll go after is this intake. So I'll go ahead and take this off too, just so I can get a better look at these push rods. What might end up happening is once I pull this push rod cover and I start to turn the engine over, that push rod is pushing, the tappet is riding on the cam, going up and down, pushing the push rod up and down, which pushes the rocker arm up and down, opens and closes the valve. So what happens when I take the push rod cover off, I might just see that the push rod is loose, and that might be the problem because it's adjustable, it has a lock nut on it. That would shock me if that was it, but it's possible. So basically what we're looking for is any kind of slop as I turn the engine over and get these push rod covers off to see as they go up and down if there's any slop in that, because it should be buried down into that hydraulic lifter several thousands to be able to maintain the hydraulic function of the tappet. Get it done. So crankcase vent tubes have to come out. Basically, as your crankcase, as your rotating mass inside your engine spins, it creates pressure and mist, because there's oil in there. So it's splashing through oil, it's kicking up a bunch of mist. Take that mist and plumb it back into the carburetor so that it can reburn through the cycle and burn it up. So it's not just venting out to atmosphere, which is what we used to do. And on the old Harleys, used to just take a tube from the crankcase vents, run it back to your chain, and it would lube your chain. But I've been thinking about doing an external crankcase vent. But, you know, they say that as that oil mist recirculates back through your intake, it helps lubricate the valves. I'm not so sure about that. It seems to me like it's shitting in its own mouth. You know, the engine is creating mist and gases, and you're putting it right back into its mouth. So everybody's got a different opinion on it.
I don't mind running it like this, but maybe one of these days I'll do a conversion to take the crankcase vent and run it to atmosphere. See what that is. It's hollow. And there's a nipple on the end. So as the head takes them gases and mist from the rotation of the engine spinning internally, plunges it out of this into that tube and back into your intake. Okay, so next up I'm going to pull the spark plugs. There's 4 of them on these. I'll just keep the wires in a location where I can see where they're at, and then I'll pull these push rod tube covers, or push rod covers, and then I'll jack it up and put it in gear and spin the back tire, and that'll turn my engine over because the back tire will be engaged through the clutch to the engine, so I'll be able to spin it over real easy. I'm going to pull the spark plug wires off of the spark plugs. It's important when you do this to not grab onto the wire and just jerk on it, because you could damage it. There's a grommet on it. So you want to do your best to grab a hold of that rubber grommet and pull straight up. And then on the other side, these ones are pretty simple. I'm just going to use the flat side of a hook. You don't want to dig into the grommet, but you just want to be able to get a little bit hold on the cusp of it and just kind of pop it up. Things like this that you see as you start taking it apart, you're like, man, don't rule anything out and don't just assume that, you know, I know it's not the spark plugs. No, you don't know it's not the spark plugs. It could be anything at any moment. So always double, triple check all your work and don't rule anything out. So I got all 4 spark plugs out. I don't know how well you can see this, but they should have like a coffee with cream color to them. It's like a nice golden brown. If it was black, obviously you're burning too much fuel, and that would mean a rich condition, which these are all fuel injected, everything's metered anyway. Okay, spark plugs are out. I'm gonna go after these push rod tubes. These are typically chrome, but I went with the black ones just to make it look a little bit more, I don't know, solid looking, you know that it's not stock. So I usually use a rag on this and just kind of avoid as much scuffing as I can on these. So I'll kind of wrap paper towel around it so I don't scratch it. Get your tip in there. Ah, yeah. That's a spring. Now I can push this whole thing on. And that exposes the push rod. And that push rod feels tight. So now I'll go to the other one. Okay, so now I've got the bike jacked up, and I've got the push rod tubes. I just took a rag, kind of pushed the push rod tubes up, and I jam a rag in between them. It'll kind of hold them up in there. There's a lot of different ways you can do this, but whatever's easiest and convenient. I've always found this really easy and convenient. You just stuff a rag in between them as you push them up, and then you can see the push rods down here. So if you look close down in there, you can see the tappet and the cuff that centers it. The original cuff is plastic, so S&S makes billet aluminum ones that are a lot better quality. And now I can start to turn the tire to push the engine over, and we'll watch the push rods and we'll listen and see if we can isolate that sound. So as you can see, there's nothing obvious there. Push rods are going up and down. You don't hear any engine noise. Any of that clicking that you hear is just all between the transmission, the clutch, and the rear drive wheel. So I don't see any area of concern right there. Nothing's slopping, nothing's banging. the valves seem adjusted right. So it's got to be up top. I'm thinking broken valve spring, broken valve, broken rocker arm, a hung up rocker arm. But I guess the next step is going to be to pull the rocker boxes.
All right, so today I'm going to get after the ACRs, the automatic compression reliefs. The symptoms of the bike: losing power, felt like an exhaust leak, a ticking. I need to look at these. I need to get them out and inspect them. But you've got the wire hooked on there, so you need to be able to get around that. So what I'm going to do is sacrifice my 13/16 spark plug socket, because it also has a wrench hex on the top where you can get a wrench on it. And I'm going to go ahead and cut a slot in it so that way I can get those ACRs out. All right, there we go. I got my 13/16 modified socket. Let's see if this thing will fit in there. So now my wire can come through the side, and I should be able to get a ratchet on there. On this side, it's really tight here because you got the frame up there. So let's see. I can get it in there. I don't know if I'll be able to get a ratchet on there, so that might be just a wrench on the top. So let's see what this one looks like. Let's see what the other one do. There's the back one. 10.5 to 1 is really hard to push with a starter. So compression releases, usually they're pretty accessible. These ones are right dead center of the head. But basically what happens is that little plunger in the middle there pops out, releases some compression to allow the starter to move the engine over easy. And then as the engine starts to fire, these close, and then you get full compression again. So I don't see any horrible problems with them. So we're going to continue on and get these rocker boxes off. All right, I got the ACRs out. I got this rocker box off. Let's take a look here. See anything? Rocker arm right there. This was a stud kit from S&S too. So it must have pulled the stud. Let's check the other side. Those ones look good. As you can see right there, that is not setting down into that saddle all the way. So I'm going to back this push rod off down here at the adjustment at the bottom. So now that the jam nut is loose, I can go on the flats of the push rod here and back this push rod off. That'll release the pressure pushing up on the rocker arm, and I'll be able to address the stud and see what's going on. The flat that you're going to turn is 1/4 inch. You can see on this one, my mark is still on there where I indexed it to see how many revolutions I was turning down into the lifter. So I'm going to have to hold this with a 7/16 and loosen this with 1/4 inch. You can feel it relieving the pressure as I turn it. So now that I've loosened my push rod all the way, it relieves pressure off the rocker arm. Now I can go after this rocker arm and see what happened here. Each cylinder has 4 valves, and you have a push rod for your intake and your exhaust. You have one push rod that's pushing up on this end of the rocker arm, but it's opening 2 valves over here. When you go with a lot of duration, like this is a 240, 250 cam, comp cams cam, it's kind of like trying to heat the house with both doors open. So you're trying to compress this fuel and air, but you've got the valve open for so long that the timing just has to be just perfect to close that valve, compress that fuel and air, and kaboom, send that piston back down. So when you push up on that rocker arm on just one side, and you're opening up 2 valves back here with a big beefy valve spring on there, it's a lot of pressure pushing on that thing, trying to push those valves open. So it's really important to make sure that you have your valve height correct. The other cool thing about these is that the oiling is here. See the ports? There and there. So when that rocker arm sits on there, it's spraying oil right onto those, which is great because the original is just a little galley up here on the top. And it just kind of dribbles down onto the top of the valve. The whole piece is a nice piece. I'm happy with that. But let's take a look at this stud. You see anything different here? You can see our threads that were on the rocker arm shaft look fine. But when we get up to about here, where the nut was on, it ripped those threads off. Just the top part. Here, up. So this S&S stud is to blame. If you look down closely in here, you can see those are the threads that pulled out. So now that I know that it was the rocker stud, that's a pretty simple fix. It's kind of concerning that there was some thread material left down there in the rocker box, but I can pick that up with a magnet, flush it out. You know, and for everybody on there in the comments saying that you shouldn't have bought a Harley and you shouldn't have modified it and blah, 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 blah. Listen, chopper culture is about ripping these things apart, making them perform and enjoying yourself and enjoying the adventure along the way. I love all kinds of different bikes. I wave at everybody on two wheels, and if I see you on the side of the road, I will definitely stop and help you. So, you know, you can give me shit all you want for what I want to do to my motorcycle and what I have on my motorcycle, but I enjoy this thing. I enjoy these type of projects. For now, I'm going to get another set of studs, reset the valves, put it back together, and I will be back out there on the road enjoying myself with my motorcycle the way I want it.